Chris Herst, who plays our Dr. VonHelton for Hellscream Haunted House. So Chris, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, you've already said my name.
I did.
You did. I've been with Hellscream for, this will be my 8th season now. Started out, it was a little crazy at first. Then when they moved to the new building, Vince came up with this idea of Dr. Stuart VonHelton and his mansion and wonderful things that he's created. And there's a huge backstory behind it, but I've been acting since I was a kid. My first real acting was probably in high school. Did all of the plays. I remember distinctly. When we did Dracula, we kind of flipped it a little bit, and had a female as a lead. She was Dracula, and I wanted that role of not Dr. Van Helsing, not Von Helton, Van Helsing. And I poured my heart into it, and I ended up doing light and sound instead. So always stuck in my head, but it was the note that Mr. Rich gave to me about that of, to be an all-around actor, you also have to understand what happens in the background, because the background is what enhances that character. So, but since then, I've done some community plays. I've done a couple of local commercials for people, one in Virginia, and Brandon Bishop, you know him. I did one for a side network. Mm-hmm. Been in a couple of home movies, I guess is what you would call them. Mm-hmm. Roy Torres did one. Did one for it's a short.
Yeah.
Did one for Brandon Bishop as well. All around Dr. VonHelton, but all over the United States, I've acted in various things. It's one of the things that I enjoy doing. So.
And yeah, that's something I really wanted to talk to you about today. Is we've done a video with you before about character creation. We dove a little bit into your background, but today, I really want to talk to you more about like how you got into acting and how you got into this, because you are so all around such a good performer. And I know you don't just do acting. I know you sing a little bit too, and you have impressions too that you do.
I do a few of those. It's mostly the accents and like that, but I've been playing guitar since 9th grade. And so that's part of the quarantine, as I play a lot of music because I do have PTSD, and it helps alleviate that, get some of that pressure off. But the acting really started full-blown in high school with Mr. Richardson. He was constantly pushing people to dig deeper into themselves and not be shy. And that's kind of what got me started on the accents. Mm-hmm. Coming from Colorado, I grew up with a Southern accent. I lost it real quick when I went to Harrison High School. But Coloradans as a whole don't have an accent. And you'll find that a lot of people that are from here and from the Midwest that don't have accents pick up accents very easily.
Yes.
So fortunately, having been in the Navy, I was able to travel around the world and across country and got to meet many different versions of our society, and would catch myself while talking to people to start using their accent. And there was no meanness to it or anything like that. It just sort of happened. I also grew up with 5 English families. So the very first accent I learned at a young age was the English accent. Our one neighbor used to tell me that they were going to convert me yet. I said, convert me to what? And she'd look me in the eye and go, you've already got the accent. So, it's nice to be able to switch characters as quickly as I do. And it's taken a lot of years and a lot of practice. And now I stay in practice now on my video games.
Oh, that's interesting. How does that work?
Well, like for example, Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah.
I'm doing battle with these guys. I'm doing all these different accents as I'm assaulting these other characters, and my wife absolutely loves it. I have one of the very few wives on the planet that will come home from work, will have supper, and she'll look at me and go, "Are you gonna play your game?" And it's because she likes listening to those voices and the interaction that I have with the game. So, that practice.
That's adorable. That's so cute. That's such a cool dynamic. And yeah, like with right now with the quarantine going on, like how's life been for you, like overall? Like,
Well, for me, it's been easy because I am a retired submariner, and we're the world champion distance keeping. So for me, it's not been that difficult. It's nice to be able to see the sun, because on a submarine, you could be 30, 40, 60, sometimes 80 days underwater.
oh my God.
So the isolation part is something that I'm already used to. So when this started, it didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
Sorry, my cats are in a wrestling match right now.
It's all good. I have cats over here who do the same thing.
Hey, come on, Brynjar. Okay. For my wife is working from home. Tara's doing distance learning for school. Tara's loving it because she's almost a teenager, and very much like a cat, only needs to be awake for about 3 hours a day. The rest of the time, she prefer to be sleeping. So a lot of times I have to watch what I do, because Sherry has phone conferences and like that with her job. So I have to sit quietly in the living room. And those of you that know me and know, it's hard to believe that as much as I talk, I was extremely shy in high school.
Oh.
But now that I came out of that shell, this kind of thing, when she's on a conference, I'm just sitting there like, I'll see something, I'm like, I want to tell her so bad and I can't.
Oh my gosh. I definitely have clips of you acting very rambunctious around the haunted house.
Ice cream! Ice cream!
Why is this happening?
I have got a new toy,
Oh no.
and I will use it vehemently. Mostly because Jesse likes to use this, and they not mine.
It's energy.
It is. And so you did touch on it a little bit earlier about when you started with Hellscream, but kind of how did you get into the whole haunted houses, and what interested you in haunted houses?
My ex-sister-in-law called me one afternoon about 5 o'clock. And I said, what's going on? She says, well, I know you're into acting and you do all those weird accents. And I said, yeah. She says, would you like to work in a haunted house? And I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, we're short on people and we need people, and you were the first person I thought of. So I said, sure. She told me where it was at, and that's back when it was in the warehouse. I drove down there, and the staff manager at the time I introduced myself and said, you got a phone call to come in? She goes, okay, can you drag a shovel? And I said, sure. And about then, Mr. Vince Stites came around the corner and looked her in the face and went, no, 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 no. I already know his background. I need him up here. And that was my very first, threw me right into the fire as basically the host doing the line, greeting people and going through the whole, here's the rules, here's what you can't do, here's what we don't want you to do.
Yeah.
And that was I was thrown into the fire.
Oh my gosh.
I was hooked.
Of course.
We tried some different characters. And then the ironic thing is, to me, this is hilarious. I came in as a pirate one night. So they've been giving me guff about that since then. And now we have a pirate. Figure the odds.
We do.
When the doc come around, when they moved to the permanent building, they, I guess in the off season, they came up with this idea of this 18th century manor. And when they came up with Dr. Stuart VonHelton, Vince said, however way you want to play that character. And of course, with the name VonHelton, I immediately went German.
And I do want to touch on that real quick, because I did notice in the last video we did with you, we got a lot of comments about a different channel for VonHelton, a different VonHelton. I just wanted to make sure that there was a huge distinction between the character who is the face of Hellscream Haunted House, Dr. Stuart VonHelton, and whoever this individual is, who I feel bad I don't know who it is.
I don't know who that guy is. I really don't.
Sorry.
Well, it's not your fault, but He can be VonHelton all he wants. I am the Dr. VonHelton. So first name Stuart, last name VonHelton, all one word, 2 L's. Hence Hellscream, VonHelton. See how that works?
Yep. Oh yeah. And what year about did you guys come up with the character Dr. Stuart VonHelton?
Oh, let's see, that was 8 years ago. So around 2012. I've been doing them for a long time.
That's a long while. So he is definitely stuck in our haunted house. So anyone who's upset about that, I'm sorry. He's with us. He's our mad doctor scientist, and Chris here does a fantastic job. And I can't imagine anyone else ever playing him. So you're
I appreciate
marvelous.
that.
So
we'll see how themes change. It's.
Well, life happens. But
one of the biggest things I love about working for Hellscream Entertainment is that it's constantly changing and growing. So a lot of places, like if you go like a couple places up in Denver, and I'm not going to dime anybody out, but if you go in, it's the same haunted house every year. Nothing changes. And every year, thanks to Jesse Clark, our general manager, and his intuitiveness and his insight, every year something in the haunt changes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To me, it keeps it fresh. Our regulars, our fans that come every year, love that. And they've even said that as far as they know, we're the only house that does that.
Wow, like that's amazing that we hear that from fans. And you get a lot of time to talk to fans and people as you are on the line a lot. Can you talk a little bit about line acting and how it might differ from working inside the haunted house?
The biggest thing with line acting is you have to be good at improv. A lot of younger kids, they want to be on that line so bad because they think we're just having fun. Our job is multifold. Our job is to entertain. So when the lines get long, people are waiting for a long time. You have to be able to keep those people entertained. So you can't have just 3 lines. People are going to know it, and then they're going to get bored. 2, part of our job is to watch for people we know are going to be trouble.
Yes.
And by that, we don't have a problem with people that partake of the local fair here in Colorado. The ones that we have the most problems with come in drunk. And that knocks down those barriers, and then they get silly. And they normally get caught, and they get in trouble for it. But that's also part of our job, is to identify those people that we feel will be a troublemaker, because our biggest job is to make sure that our actors are safe.
And you guys do a marvelous job at that. I mean, I know, at least when I'm in the behind the scenes during season doing my video thing, I'll be in the office sometimes and we'll get a call like, hey, just watch this group because, so-and-so, either you or Terry the Pumpkin King, or sometimes it's Andrew who's doing a fantastic job as Dollface. One of you catches someone, you're like, this is what's going on. And we're able to keep an eye on them and either just ascertain if they're a threat or not. And
Exactly.
You guys do a fantastic job at that. So thank you so much for really being part of the front line when it comes to actor safety.
And it's, again, the biggest thing with line acting is you have to be able to do improv. You have to be able to change on the fly, because that's really the only place that our guests get to interact with a character.
That's very true.
Because the rest of the time they're going through the house, they're trying to see everything, and it's the interaction is the scare and the scream and the I got to get out to the next room. Whereas on the line, especially we've seen past season, we set records. And when you have 800, 1,000 people in line, us line actors have to work through that line and keep people entertained as they go through the line. And we'll make contact with somebody way on the outside, and we'll make contact with them in the middle, and we'll make contact before they go in. And that, to me, is what makes our line so special, because we follow these people all the way through. It's personal when they go into the house. We set the house up. It's our job to make sure that they're ready to go in the house and be in that right mindset.
Oh yeah.
And that right mindset, we want them to be on edge. So even though Dr. Von Helton is loud and boisterous and sometimes funny and tells stupid jokes, there's also a very dark side to him that I have used to mess with people. And last year, I got to introduce the second personality.
Ooh. Man, I don't remember if I saw that.
You saw some of it.
Oh, I'm trying to remember what it was now. Was it the,
It's
I don't want
Jack.
to give it, oh, okay, I got it. I don't want to give
what I will do is I will go from Dr. Von Helton to loud and boisterous, and sometimes I will give them the eye. But then when I change over, it's more like, oi, do you know what fear is? I know what fear is. I'll show you tonight in your dreams.
that is eerie.
So being able to switch between the two characters and do it on a dime and do it correctly. And that's the hardest part is when you do accents. I have preached for years and years and years, don't act the character, be the character.
Absolutely.
That way you never mess up.
Absolutely. And every time that you've done like an actor training or you give tips to actors like that, you're always so on that point, and you have them develop a backstory, you have them develop really like answers almost for this character. With Von Helton, what's kind of the backstory for Von Helton in particular?
Well, the majority of his backstory is on the website.
It's true.
Dr. Von Helton is pretty much timeless. And this is part of the background that we're building on him. And if you go to Haunted Minds, it's a theater that shows why Dr. Von Helton is doing what he's doing now. So he's been alive for a long time. Like I said, he's virtually timeless.
Yeah.
The character Jack is exactly what most people think it is. There was a guy around 1880 to 1883 that practiced some surgery on a few ladies in London, known as Jack the Ripper. So the backstory is this. Dr. Von Helton was young. He was an upcomer. He was trying to prove that you could bring people back to life, doing it in an ethical way, and accidentally killed his wife. Now, his partner in crime, as it were, is Jeremiah. He blames Jeremiah for her death.
Oh.
Because he got an emergency call to get home. And of course, they were in carriages, not cars.
Mm-hmm.
And he told Jeremiah to stop for nothing. And so they're going full tilt. And my wife came out in front of the carriage and was run over.
Oh.
So since then, he's been trying to bring his wife back.
That is very dark.
So that's what brought out the character of Jack the Ripper, because he went through a very dark time with these surgeries, trying to figure out how he could put his wife back together and bring her back and do it in such a way that she was still his wife.
Yeah, there's a big point to that. We have some, I might actually have some footage of it somewhere, of the play that we do over at Haunted Minds that kind of goes over that backstory. And we have some fantastic actors who really help out with that in particular. So it's really interesting to see how this story is developing and growing for the backstory for this main face of Hellscream in some ways. So I just think it's outstanding. So thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and that's what leads into what Hellscream is and what Haunted Minds is. Those are all things that Dr. Von Helton has created in this attempt to bring his wife back. So I get people in the line ask me all the time, oh, so they're zombies. And I'm like, no, they're not zombies. They're all quite alive. They just wish they were dead.
That gives me chills down my spine. Because and every, oh gosh, it's so fun watching our other actors kind of create a story for their character based around Von Helton's experiments. because we have some who play some sort of witch. We have some who play some sort of psychotic clown. We have some who play some sort of haunted ghost running through the house, you know? And
Just a little bit of everything.
little bit of everything. And at the base of their backstory, if you ever listen to what they have to say, it's always Dr. VonHelton, Dr. VonHelton, Dr. VonHelton.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's quite beautiful how everyone's come together really to be part of this backstory. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
It's a lot of fun, and I love how all of the interaction comes together, because I am allowed to go into the house. Like, for example, I'll mess with somebody in the line, and I'll stare them down until they're cowed. Very quietly tell them how much I love their eyes, and I would like to use them in my new doll.
No.
And that's what sets the mindset for them going into the house. And when the lines are slower, I'll tell Terry and Angie, hey, I'm going in the house. They're like, see you in a couple minutes. And I'll go in and I'll meet them every other room, and I won't say anything. I'll just stand there and stare at them. And after 3 or 4 rooms, it really starts to get in their head, that's known as the psychological fear.
It's very true.
So now as they go through the haunt, not only are they doing the tiny steps because they don't know what's around the corner, they're also looking for me. So it's a lot of fun. And I'll say to the people that are in the room that they're coming to, this person, this is what they look like, this is what they're wearing, I want their eyes. So they'll be a normal character, and out of the blue, they'll go, oh, you have amazing eyes. And by the time they're like this.
That's why I see that happening. Okay, that makes total sense now. Because I'll be going through the haunt sometimes with my camera, and I'm like, why are you looking down? The stairs over here. You know, you're so sneaky that I don't see you. And there's so many ins and outs of the haunt that we don't want to tell people about. But people like yourself or like runners know the ways around like nobody's business. So.
And that's the big benefit, is being able to get ahead of them. Because they'll go completely by me and into the next room, and I'm gone. And then they'll come into the room after that, and there I am again. And there's been a lot of naughty language used, and they're like, how do you keep doing that?
Carefully, with tactics.
Well, I remind them. It is my house.
Oh, that is so eerie. I'd freak out if I heard that. To be fair, I scare very easily, but
we enjoy that.
Oh, I know you do.
So that's the fun and the development of Dr. VonHelton. And over time, you know, the clowns came in, the circus people, and tried to kill me. So now Dr. VonHelton has a very prominent scar, which is really cool. Our makeup artists, you know, I tell them I hope I make their work proud, because they're the ones that make me look the way I do. And I feel incumbent to be able to showcase what they've done to make me look the way I do.
And you always look phenomenal. I mean, how long does it usually take for you to get into character each night?
To get into character, I'm in character when I leave the house. I do warm-up stuff here at home, and you know I do warm-up stuff at the haunt to preserve the voices and all that.
It's the muscle right here.
But I start becoming Dr. VonHelton at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, we open at 7, just so everyone knows. So that's a 5-hour. Oh, that's amazing.
Well, that way there's no mistake.
That's true. That's very true.
Don't act the character, be the character. I stopped for dinner one night on the way up to the haunt. I think it was at Taco Bell, and I went into the drive-thru and I ordered in Dr. VonHelton's voice. So
I can only imagine their reactions.
Yeah, well, you know, excuse me, I would like the chalupa. Give me the chalupa. I would like the Diet Coke. It's a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh. So
my second favorite part of the night is when I'm going home now.
Oh.
Because of the scar.
It looks real. It looks real most, like, all the time it looks real. So I can imagine.
But see, the fun part is I'll pull up to a light. I'm still in makeup. I still have my outfit on. And I'll look over at somebody and look at me, and I'll start peeling the scar off, and then look at them, and then like, ooh, I don't know what to do, because literally it's pulling it off.
Oh yeah, it's. I've done the same thing. I totally get it. So one of my last questions, and we did touch on this a lot in a previous video, but I did want to ask it one more time. What advice would you give to newer actors coming into the haunted house who may have never acted before or have minimal acting experience, this sort of thing?
Well, let me start with 1, have fun. 2, that background for your character is what is critical, because that's what allows you to become the character. If you just start picking up a role, okay, I'm a witch. Let's see, what do witches do? They cackle a lot and they wave their fingers a lot. But if you interact with anybody, even our actors inside, a lot of times a guest will ask him, what's your deal? And it messes with them bad when that character already has that background, because they can answer the question. And that becomes part of the scare, because they're not expecting an answer. They're expecting something silly. And so do your background when you're given a character. And a lot of times, they're put into a spot. You should be able to do who, what, when, where, why, and how in any room in the haunt. I've done it. Bloody Valentine. I got to play both characters at Bloody Valentine. I was in the dentist room as Jack. They would go into the morgue. I'd run around to the cafeteria, and I was VonHelton. I had my doctor's coat on in the dentist room, and I'd take that off. There was a regular. He had no clue who I was in the dentist room. Showed up on the other side, and he looks at Wayne and goes, "What?" He goes, honey, that's the guy from the other haunt. The guy with the top hat. Couldn't remember my name, but he remembered the character.
Yeah.
And even some of our actors, when they went through the compliments, they're like, it's weird because it's like he's literally 2 different people. And in essence, he is. So do that background, develop the character the way that you want that character to be. Now, not everybody gets to be the same character every night. We do the best that we can to make that happen. Some nights we're leaner on actors, so we have to space people out.
It's true.
Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who is your character? When are they from? What are they? That's key.
Oh, yeah.
Who, what, when, where are they from? Why are they there? Most of them can fill in that backstory because of the doc. And how do you come to be where you're at right now? And if you can answer those questions, you should be able to do it in about 30 seconds.
It's true.
Walk around the room, get to know everything that's in the room, find out what you can use to your advantage. And it can be anything from a TV set to a blanket, the props that are on the table, like in the dining room. Act like you're getting ready to chow down on some of that gory stuff.
The biggest thing, that's one thing that gets me, is when actors do pick up something and they act like they're going to eat it. Like I can't do it. Even when I'm holding a camera, I can't do
it. You know what Angie's done, right?
I do know what Angie's done.
Yeah. And you want to talk about mess with people? And they're like, no, that did not just happen. And when I'm inside the house, sometimes I'll bring a snack with me. If I'm going to be in that dining room area, I recommend bring some corn chips. Because corn chips are very loud when you crunch them. And they're small enough that you can put it in your hand, they can't see what it is. Act like you're grabbing a cockroach off the table, throw it in your mouth, and just real loud crunch down on it.
Just the thought of that. Oh my God.
Well, that's called using the room to your advantage.
That is. And it's interesting that you brought up the top hat and stuff like that, because everyone I've talked to has like a different tidbit of how to be memorable. And like Angie, for instance, said, pick some things in the room and play off of them, like you just said. And Terry mentioned, make yourself look different and outstanding in some way. And you do those things so naturally. And it's interesting to hear your tidbits about, like, you know, who, what, when, or why, because that's something new. And so there's a lot of different things people can pick up on and put together for a character that is memorable and something that people are going to talk about when they leave.
Yeah, and believe it or not, Dr. VonHelton is extremely popular. Pumpkin King is as well, and so is Rose. And it was kind of an experiment, more or less, when they sent me over to Sinister the year that Sinister was open. And when Jesse told me regulars were asking about me, I was like, eh. And when I got to come back and do what I love, the number of regulars that showed up and the first words out of their mouth, the doc is back. That's how you know you made an impact. When people come and they know who you are, even the reviewers, some of the reviewers we had last year had never met me in person. They only read about it on the website. And literally one of the guys, he goes, "Oh my God, you're the infamous Dr. VonHelton." I said, "So you know me then?" He goes, "Well, I'm just now meeting you, sir." And he shook my hand. And so it was really cool to have that interaction with somebody I'd never even met before.
That's phenomenal, because when you're talked about and you're known, especially among reviewers who have never met you, like you just said, that's phenomenal. And I really do appreciate you coming on and talking about all these different things and your background and these tips you've had. We are coming to the end of the time, though, but I did want to thank you again for coming on and doing the monster checkup, especially in this time. So
just remember a couple of things. Stay safe. Wear your mask, because if you don't wear it, I'll sew it to you. I look forward to seeing everybody on the next season, because the doctor might get to play a little bit more than people are used to. So we will have a very good time.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and thank you for that outro. Bye.
Have a great day.